Welcome to In Between the Lines, and we're your hosts, Sevon Williams. I have my partner, Joe Hamilton, with us. And Joe, first off, I want to say Happy New Year, Happy 2025, and how you feeling today?
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot, Vaughn. 2025. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna set new goals? Are you gonna set new uh, ambitions? New Year's resolution? Is it gonna be the same old, same old? I heard something the other day just say, "Hey, don't worry about New Year's resolution. Go back to the resolution you had for 2000 for 2024." I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure a lot of people hadn't accomplished that or did what they said they were going to do back then or at the beginning of last year. So just stay true, set attainable goals. Don't try to impress anybody else except yourself. And man, I'm feeling fabulous, outstanding, man. 2025, man, has got a lot in store for everybody, man.
I feel it as well. I think 2025 is going to be an amazing year, especially for those that are prepared and ready to execute. A year of action. But being that we finished off 2024, our last thing in regards to a big event that the family had was Skylar's rising senior experience. And if you could just tell us a little bit about the rising senior experience, things that you might have learned from a dad perspective, and just from what Skylar has talked about the experience in totality. What has he been talking about?
Well, and the biggest thing about it, MCA Rising Seniors Competitional Bowl, Minority Coaches Association gets the current juniors in high school football in the state of Georgia. That would be rising seniors and collect them all, watching film and hand selecting those guys. They had a draft to make sure they put each guys on different teams, had coaches kind of watch film, assess those guys, and draft accordingly. So I think that was fun for the coaches. As far as Skylar, man, I was very excited as a parent as well, just to get outside of his home base, get outside of Landmark Christian School and everybody he's been around, even the competition within the region. There were some good teams, but not overall great talent. Some good talent, some great talent, but not a plethora of all great talents. When you get to a Rising Seniors Bowl game like this, you have talent all across the board. Offensive line, defensive line, secondary. So you gotta have to be on your P's and Q's. You have to be focused. I liked what you said before when you were talking to Skylar, talking to me about the expectations and the mindset of it. Interview. Always be, your head on a swivel, knowing you never know who is watching, making sure that you stay alert, take notes, which I'll get into a little later about habits for success. And you can be copycat. Anytime you see somebody's doing right, I told Skylar, whether it's sitting up in the front of the meetings, whether it's fundamentals, whether it's doing the right thing, being on time, you want to copycat that. If you see somebody, getting attention and seeing somebody doing things that you would like to do, that's well within the rule, that's godly, copycat that. Matter of fact, you give that guy kudos, you give that guy accolades, you give that guy thankfulness that you are able to watch and learn from those guys. So the overall experience, I was happy. Not necessarily with the play calling, Vaughn, of the football game when Skylar was in there. But I was happy to hear him say it wasn't all about the game, that it was more about the seminars, more about the talk, the NIL, the recruiting seminars about what he is to expect next year as a rising senior. So just him and the teammates and the bond and the camaraderie that he built going forward. There's a lot more people that I think he's going to be able to watch and follow their senior year just because the relationship they built in that 3 day journey at the Rising Seniors.
Now, as we can see here, the entire family, as we had Randy, Mila, Lance, and Travis, came from out of town. Being that this was so close to after Christmas and right before New Year's, do you feel like, in regards to the Rising Senior Bowl, that placement being right after the holidays, do you feel like that was a good space to go ahead and have it, or a good time frame to have it? Or if you was in charge, would you have chose to possibly do it a bit earlier, or maybe in January?
Well, it's tough. It's very tough for organizers. It's very tough for the president and guys to put this bowl together, because you do want to leave a little bit of wiggle room for the guys that made it to the state championship game in
That's
the
true.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You want to leave room for those guys to kind of get rested up and not playing back to back to back, muscle rest, be around their family as well. So I think it's right on, spot on, to where you want to not drag it on to anywhere close to the New Year, right around a couple days before. You don't want it necessarily at Christmas or right around taking the Christmas break and the family time. But unfortunately, or fortunately for Skylar, however you want to look at it, him being in basketball and not really doing a lot of football drills except throwing around and making sure his arm is live and his arm is in shape, he really didn't stay in the football groove. He was trying to balance that. It didn't affect him at all, but just the fact that it wasn't not just all football between his last game and the playoffs with Landmark, and then preparing for rising seniors.
Well, one of the things in between the lines that we pride ourselves on is being out there on the field or on the court or in the ring.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
one thing about us being there is we get to not only feel the environment, not only scout what's going on, but also get to give the audience a inside look of exactly what's going on from being on the field. So with that being said, we want to jump into the Rising Senior Bowl, and just to give the audience an inside look of the experience from pregame, halftime, and even after the game when we spoke with Skylar. So we're going to go right ahead and play that for you. In between the lines here, Sevon Williams, my partner Joseph Hamilton, and we are live here at Lakewood Stadium. Joe, tell the people why we're here today.
Yeah, we're here just to watch the Rising Seniors Bowl, where all the juniors get together, top juniors in the state, for competition, going into next year, building another momentum builder, get recruited, get notarized by college scouts, get notarized by everybody in the state of Georgia. And obviously right now, your nephew, my son, Skylar Hamilton, is playing quarterback for Team Commitment. So looking forward to it. Been to a couple practices, Vaughn, this week. And I'm looking forward to seeing what all the guys, all the quarterbacks, and all the participants have to offer.
What has, since you have been to the practices, how's the environment? What's been the tempo of the practices? Some pro players, usually when it's all-star games, they like to take this time off. Have you seen any of that from our rising juniors throughout the week?
Absolutely none of that. And what I like about the rising senior type bowl games is because they're juniors now. Most of these guys, some of them have offers already, a lot of offers. Some of them don't have offers already. So you don't want to come out here half-stepping. You don't want to come out here going through the motion, lethargic, not giving good effort. So for a lot of these athletes right now, it's a showcase. Let me show you what I got. And the competition is at a high level, and you don't want to be caught slipping, because their opponent today wants a piece of your lunch. They want to show and tell them as well, so you don't want to get embarrassed at all.
And one thing I thought that was interesting, and you can talk about the committee that put this thing together, is that the teams haven't seen each other. They wasn't practicing together. Now, the team that you're on, you practice with that squad, but the opposing team, you pretty much haven't seen them. So this is going to be the first time that we see each other on the field.
Yeah, it's a good mix, Vaughn. It's a good mix because sometimes you have a draft where a team that you, or a teammate that you played with is on the other team. Another team that you played against, or a teammate that you played against is on another team, so you're familiar with that. And let's face it, with social media and everything that's going on, these kids know about each other. These kids have read up on each other. And with that being said, I like the fact that the Rising Seniors Committee also had you roommate with somebody from the opposing team, as for instance, Skylar roommated with the quarterback, or a quarterback from the opposite team, getting to know each other, getting to build a relationship, camaraderie, because quarterbacks love to hang around quarterbacks outside of hanging out with the offensive line.
Absolutely. And Joe, what was one of the messages that you provided for Skylar? Obviously, you played in a ton of all-star games, or you've been at this level or higher levels. What was your message going into Skylar? Because this is more than just a game. It's been a whole weekend of events leading up to this point.
Yeah, this is a situation where I wish that I had spent the night with him in the hotel room with him, because things constantly went on my mind about what I left out, what I didn't say to him, what I should have said. I said last night to be who you are. I said last night to let your skills showcase. I said last night as well to you've been playing football for a long time. It's still 100 yards long, 53 and a third wide. Don't put too much pressure. But I also said something valuable to him. Keep 10 fingers on the football. You hadn't played a meaningful football game. You hadn't been tackled since your last game in the playoffs. So when somebody hits you, they're going to hit you, and you hadn't been down even in this week's practice. And one key point that I love to bring out, as a quarterback, we all look and say, I threw 2 touchdowns, I threw 1 touchdown, I threw plenty touchdowns. But if you're a quarterback leading a drive, that doesn't matter how it's done. You're the quarterback, whether you got to hand it off 8 times, hand it off 4 times, and that drive is successful, they're going to give that credit to a quarterback. So don't be so in tune and running a touchdown in, throwing a long pass, long touchdown run, what have you. Be more consumed by leading your team to scores. Whether it's 3 points, a touchdown, that's how you're going to really get evaluated, how successful that offense were when you were in the game. So that was a very, very good point. I had to relate to him. Don't try to do too much.
And one message that I relayed to him before he started this thing was, it's a business trip. You know, of course we want to have fun, but you get to see yourself up against some top-notch talent. You're going to have some more talent on your side. So, you know, take it seriously. Have fun, protect yourself, and like you said, I think you made a great point. It ain't just about the numbers that you put up, but making sure that we have a progressive drive going down the field and putting up points.
Yeah, and I love how you mentioned the fact that it's a interview, it's a job interview. Everybody's watching. So with that being said, even when you look on, you know, incomplete pass, or you maybe take a sack, somebody didn't get blocked. Are you sulking down? Is your body language something that says, hey, that guy is not an encourager? Are you clapping on the sidelines? Are you encouraging your guys off the field when things are going good? With the offenses on the sideline, are you rooting on the defense? All those things, as when you're recruiting, as you're a scout, you're looking forward to a quarterback. How involved? What kind of leader you are? And body language is one of the big-time leaders, telltale sign of leadership. When things go wrong, when things don't go your way, how are you acting? So I think that was a big, big statement you made about it's an overall interview, but not just when things are going well. When things are going wrong or not your way, how do you face adversity?
Well, we just wanted to provide you all with our pregame show. We'll be coming back to you at halftime, giving you all the stats as well as providing you highlights. This is Joe Hamilton. I'm Sevon Williams, and this is In Between the Line, Rising Senior Edition at Lakewood Stadium.
Can't wait, brother.
This ad is brought to you by the Father of Success Financial Literacy Flashcards. Parents, buy one for your kids today.
In Between the Lines here, and we are at the Rising Senior game here at Lakewood Stadium. Joe, we've been seeing a fantastic first half. What do you got to say as the home team has the lead 21-20? What do you like to say about what you've seen in the first half?
Yeah, I like to see everything. It's a competitive game. Obviously, 21-20 from the home team. Team dedication, 1 missed field goal, extra point from team commitment. But again, what you would expect in a game like this is missed tackles, missed assignments here, so to speak. But the offense showed more than I expected, because normally you get the defense playing a little better than the offense in the early stages of this game. And who can sustain drives? Who can make sure they take advantage? You saw team dedication run a trick play for a touchdown or a big play, and they tried it again and had a penalty. But it's all about the second half. Get a little bit, some time of adjustments, feel for the game, be able to get a little bit of resistance from your opponent, knowing what's going on. So I expect some coaches to make the adjustments, but we also know that you can only call so many coverages, and offensively you're a little bit limited in some things you can call as well.
Yeah, I agree with everything you say, but we also don't want to make any excuses for just playing football. We
Right.
know to move the ball down the field, we got to move the chains, and we got to put up points. Defensively, like you said, they come at an advantage knowing that they out there just looking to make a play, whether that's getting intercept, getting turnovers, or just making a big hit. We've seen a lot of big hits going on the sideline. A few players have went down. So as an offensive player, if I'm an offensive player, I'm telling them, of course, be cautious, but be out there looking to deliver blows rather than taking that impact, because defense is just pitting their ears back and doing what they're supposed to do to make the tackle.
Yeah, and you make a great point. And when you look at an all-star game like this, and where you look at the defense is very vanilla, they can't do a lot. It's mano a mano, it's man on man. You're gonna have to beat your one-on-one competition, beat one-on-one blocks, block your one-on-one defender if you on the offense. Make sure you get off of that block if you're on defense. And then it goes back to who's gonna make a play, who's gonna try to go out there and stand out on film and make that college scout or make that college recruiter say, I want that guy playing for my team, or a guy that's gonna stand out. As far as Skylar playing as well, and he's only had 2 possessions, the way you stay on the field, and I know it's not all predicated on the quarterback, you have to make first downs, sustain drives. One drive they had a 4th down and then did not get a conversion, and then the next drive they had 3 and out. And if you're a coach looking at it being fair, the other quarterback, Delancey Alexander, all 3 of his drives, except the one right before half when they only had 18 seconds to score, he scored on all their positions. So I'm not saying one quarterback is better than the other, but when you get in there, you're going to have to sustain drives and move the ball, and then that's how you're going to be able to get more reps as a quarterback and staying on the football field.
One thing, obviously, football is a game of rhythm, and being on the sideline, being that he's used to playing both sides of the field, sitting and waiting. What I would much rather see Skylar doing is playing catch with another receiver while he's waiting for his reps, or while he's waiting for the next team to switch in, just so he has that rhythm, because it seems like it's been difficult, like you said, offensively. You don't know necessarily what the play call may be, or if you're doing 2 or 3 run plays in a row and you don't get anywhere. However, we do understand if it's a 4th down, we need to do everything we can to move those chains. One thing I mentioned to Joe is, obviously, when you're playing in an all-star game or a bowl game, the level of competition, these DNs, the linebackers on the opposing side, you have a split second that you need to make a decision whether you're going to pass or run. And when you look in the run, you have to protect yourself and really run the ball. It's not tapping out of bounds, because these guys are coming downhill making a play.
Everybody's hungry. Everybody wants to make a play. Everybody wants to go to the echo of the whistle. They don't want to play dirty. They don't want to get 15-yard penalties and personal fouls, but they want to make an impact and make their name known. And you're absolutely right. So now that you have a first half under your belt, each team, each position, they want to know, or they have a feel for the game speed, what it's going to be like. So you go out there and anticipate it's going to be even faster now that it's a close game. And when it pertains to, the 3rd down and Skylar's on the rhythm and making sure he throws and plays catch on the sideline, absolutely, that's correct. But you also don't want to get behind the sticks. You had 1 3rd down, 3rd and 8, then you had a 4th down, 4th and 9. It's hard to get that conversion when the defense knows that you have to go deep, or you have to have a lot of protection in that pocket. So again, and you also want Skylar, when he's on the sideline, to hear the plays as well. Kind of, get mental reps while somebody else is in there running that play. You can kind of go through it in your mind. So it's a lot to learn, a lot to digest for the second half, but you just want to make sure you can extend drives, and therefore when you extend drives, you get more reps on the football field.
Well, one thing for sure, 2 things for certain. Being that this is a close game, right now we get to see the real competitors. Everybody wants to do good, but now we get to see who really want to win out here.
Absolutely, and then what you don't want to see is from either team, because I just love the game of football, you don't want selfish play. You don't want a defensive end because he wants to be all across the field and run a play down from the backside, all of a sudden get out of his gap to where they run a reverse or run something that he's not staying at home. Yes, you want to make plays. Yes, you want to stand out, but you don't want to try to make every play when it's not your responsibility. So you also want to look at what team can be more disciplined and watch their keys and play at a high level doing those type things.
Great point from Joe Ham. Well, We're going to be back with our post games. Right now, we're 21-20, the home team at the Rising Senior Bowl here at Lakewood Stadium.
Again, denied, need to fix your credit, contact the $5 Success today.
Welcome to the second half.
In between the lines here, me and my partner with Skylar Hamilton. First off, Skylar, first question I have for you is how does it feel to be back on this football field after playing basketball throughout the year? How does it feel to be back on this turf?
It feels great. It's like really refreshing because honestly, basketball practice and basketball is really not like, man, every time I play basketball, I really miss the field. I miss like the environment, stuff like that, because football is my real passion. So yeah, it felt great coming back.
Talking about the environment, this event has been bigger than just today.
Mm-hmm.
What has it been like this entire experience since Friday night? How would you sum up your experience thus far?
It's been great. I love practicing against competition that's like on a different level than I normally go against, and practice against people that are really good, playing at the next level, potentially playing the next level against me and with me. So it feels great, and also like the stuff outside of it, like the meetings and stuff, makes it feel really professional, and like it's like it's like we're in the league basically with all the meetings and stuff like that.
What would you take if you had to put just one finger on anything that you took out of these 3 days? What would be one thing you said, hey, I can take that and put it in my toolbox on or off the field? You learn anything from the coaches, players? What is one thing you can take that I can use that going forward for your team and you as an individual?
I feel like just being more patient with my stuff, and that's really probably because here I've had like a really good O-line, and they're really protecting me well. But just be more patient and not just run read and just keep going through my progressions better. That's probably my thing right there.
It's good stuff.
Any teammates that you may want to give a shout out to? Any teammates that you may want to get a shout out to that you just met over the weekend?
Probably Peyton and Zion, my two favorite receivers, number 1 and number 6. They're really playmakers out there, and they get the job done. And then on defense, definitely number 24, Tim. He was playing really well today. And then number 23, the edge rusher, he was playing really well today as well.
In a game like this, does the score really matters? Win, lose? Is that a takeaway? Do you feel depressed, down, or anything? Or is it just about the camaraderie and what you learn?
I definitely want to win, but it's really more about what we learned throughout this. We're all friends now. We're all like teammates basically because we spend the whole weekend together. So this is really just the practice is really the main thing, and this is kind of just like a reward for all of our practice and stuff like that.
And individually, just to have to ask this question, how do you feel that you played?
I feel I played pretty well just managing it, but I could have made some better plays, but I feel like I didn't have like the opportunity to make as much plays as I probably wanted to.
Well, I think it's a lot to learn from moving forward. We definitely got some good film. We got to see ourselves against some pretty good competition on both ends, and we had a great game. And the biggest thing is we walk away healthy and looking forward to the next event, which we're going to drop. Joe, what is the next event that we have coming up for Skylar in January?
Well, we have a big event coming in San Antonio on January 9th through the 11th. Navy All-American Combine. Just the opportunity again to get amongst other quarterbacks, other wide receivers, showcase your skills. We also have 7-on-7 tryouts, Hustle Link and then Cam Newton's camp. I think when you get a chance to showcase your skills, it's all about competing, and that's what I love about coming out here and seeing different talent. Competition is the name of the game.
Well, this is the Rising Senior game, and we are at Lakewood Stadium. In between the lines, I'm Sevon Williams. This is Joe Hamilton, Skylar Hamilton, here on the away team. We are out.
Well, Joe, we are back, and I know it probably just gives you goosebumps just hearing some of the things that probably was your first time even hearing our post game with Skylar, and he answered everything correctly. But tomorrow you all will be going to San Antonio. So how is he excited, or what's the feelings been like in the Hamilton household knowing that you all are actually going to a trip for a combine, not necessarily like an all-star game, but this one is more so a combine?
Yeah, excitement, a lot of excitement, and a lot of just making sure you're mentally prepared, because let's be real, this thing is flying by. This thing is moving at a pace that you thought was almost a snail's pace, a turtle's pace 2 years ago, and now you're coming up on the off season of your senior year. Now you are trying to really get evaluated to try to see where you're going to spend the next 4, maybe 5 years, taking your talents to the new level. And I love about the National Navy Combine is you see a lot of different players again. You see a lot of different players at your position. You see a lot of different sizes, weights, arm strength, hand size. You see DBs and the way they cover. Again, it's going to be a lot of information about NIL, a lot of information about the recruiting process that you can, just absorb and make sure you digest those things looking forward to. But again, it's a competition. You never know who you're going to run up into. You never know what future teammate that they can influence you to maybe go to their school, or you can influence them to go to their school. When I mean their school, the school of their choice when they choose college. Or maybe if you're dealing with somebody in state, they might want to transfer to play with you. So this is all about a couple of things. Having fun, because football is still a game of you want to have fun. Competition should be fun. But right in the back of your mind, up there with those two things, it's a business trip, and it's a time to showcase your skill worldwide. And I also love the fact that they give feedback. The National Navy Combine gives feedback as far as your 40 yards, 40-yard dash, 3-cone drill, L drill, one-on-ones. You can see one-on-ones. They'll be streamed live on their YouTube channel. So all those things will be streamed. They'll give you a percentage or a percentile where you match up against the class of 2026 quarterbacks, and you'll be able to gauge yourself from there. And they'll give you things of critiqueness, give you things, your evaluation where you can work on and go back this off season and maybe carry that sense of urgency. Maybe carry everything you've learned between the Rising Senior Bowl and the Navy Combine, Hustle Lake 7-on-7 tryout, C1N Cam Newton tryout, all those different things about competition and feedback and being around really, really good players. I think can only enhance your off season and your mentality going into your senior year.
Absolutely. Do you feel that the hunger has the appetite for hunger and ready to get back out there is increasing with the Rising Senior and the 7-on-7 tryouts for Cam Newton, as well as the Combine? Would you say that the appetite for Skylar to get back out there on the football field is increasing due to the different events that's been stacked up going this past what you all are about to do, as well as what's occurred over the last 2-3 weeks?
You have to dig deep. I have to dig deep to really know how Skylar's feeling. And he's got a little giddy up in his step. Anytime we talk about the upcoming events, he gets a little excited. But he's nothing like his father. He's nothing like me as far as I wear my emotions on my sleeve. You'll know I'm fired up and ready to go. He kind of keep it in-house a little bit. And I want that to come out more so than I've been seeing. When I'm talking about, I want to pinpoint the fact that, especially when we go to the Combine in San Antonio, Texas, jump up front.
Yeah.
Don't you let anybody take your reps. You cannot be on film having one quarterback or 2 or 3 quarterbacks having 15 reps and you having 7 or 8 just because you wouldn't jump in the front. You waiting kind of laissez-faire and, waiting on your turn. Yeah, it might become your turn, but some people in there trying to steal reps, trying to go back to back. Some people after they throw maybe, a hitch route to the right and a hitch route to the left, and they're supposed to go to the back of the line. Some of those quarterbacks will cut the line. And I don't fault them. It's not, a sign of you, trying to do anything malice. You're trying to get reps. You're trying to be showcase yourself. And on the flip side, you need to try to do the same thing. If you mess up on a play, mess up on a pass that maybe was overthrown or short, try to get right back up there and say, hey, let's do a do-over. They might not let you do a do-over, but you're trying your best to make sure you can get an honest evaluation. So I want to see that a little bit more in Skylar as far as the aggressiveness, just to be in the forefront, to be looked at, and that's such a, he's a QB1 at Landmark. He's a QB1. They're going to put him in first. Now, when you go to different competitions, there is no first. You're vying to be first, and to be first, you got to get known.
Do you recall or remember any combines that you were a part of in high school before, eventually coming to Georgia Tech? Or was the NFL combine the first combine that you pretty much took place in?
Yeah, it was a little different. I remember going to Penn State 2 straight years, the Penn State camp, which was something like a combine. It was something like an evaluation to see where you got or where you went year to year. Our coach drove us 11 hours up to Penn State, Pennsylvania from South Carolina. You ran your 40. You did the vertical jump, broad jump. You threw one-on-ones. You hung around with the quarterbacks. And I remember vividly that the experience, just knowing that, man, I might be the best in my county. I might be the best on my team in my region. But when you get nationally, when you go to a camp where everybody's from the Midwest, the East Coast, the West Coast, the South, the North, and that talent, you realize that, man, you are a small fish in a big pond, and there are a lot of talented guys out there. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to separate yourself from the best? I always like to tell guys, Vaughn, that it's a cheating on your friends, too. You have to cheat on your teammates. You have to cheat on your workout partner. You don't only want to be the best player at your position, but you want to be the best player on your team. I gave Skylar an example of both quarterbacks or both wide receiver and a quarterback. If you guys are working out as friends in the off season, and then y'all working out for 3 hours and then throwing the ball afterwards, and y'all said, man, we had a good workout today, man. I'm tired. I'm fatigued. And you guys bring up the question, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What y'all got going on for the rest of the day? Nah, man, nothing. I'm about to go home, man, chill, take a shower, relax. Yeah, that's an answer. That's truthful. But when all that's said and done, you have to backdoor your friend too. It's a backdoor of your friend. You got to sneak out the back. Yeah, you're telling him he thought you were going home, but make sure you do your little extra as far as going to get maybe 30 minutes, maybe 25 minutes extra to set yourself apart from even your teammate. The best are always working. The best are always trying to find a way to get an extra an extra workout in, an extra advantage on the competition, no matter if it's a teammate or not.
And that's similar stories that you hear of Kobe Bryant after games putting in extra work in the weight room or shooting 1,000 shots before he ever even go home after finishing a full game. So I definitely understand and agree. Sometimes if you want to be the best, you're going to have to outwork the rest. And by doing so, it's not necessarily always telling your friends you'll eat every move.
Right.
Absolutely. So we definitely understand that. But this is one of my favorite segments of the show. It's time for Joe Ham Habits for Success. Now, Joe, it's coming back to me now. Being that now it's 2025, and you may already have something. So if you have something, we certainly want you to give a habit for success. And I'll just move this segment to later on in the show. But in 2025, prior to the year, we said, okay, choose a word to describe your 2025. And you just one word to describe your 2025. It can be anything that you want. It can be, like you said, something that you might have said in 2024. You know, we had a friend of the family, Chelsea, and she said like her word was her same word from 2024. She just wanted more of it. So I said, okay, well, stand on that. For example, my word is action. A lot of people talk, a lot of people say what they're going to do, but they missing the action. I feel like 2025 is the year for action takers. It's going to be an amazing year for the ones that's actually getting stuff done. This show is an example of, we talked about doing this for probably at least a year or two, but then we just finally started taking action, and now look where we are. So my word is action. what if you had to choose a word to describe your 2025? What is your word and why?
Yeah, that's a good one, Vaughn. I love that action. I mean, nothing just happens. You have to put a little bit of work in everything you do, and you can talk about it all you want, but are you going to be about it? Are you going to take that step, that leap of faith, just out there having courage to do what you need to do, even though you might not be popular in doing it or stepping out, but you're just the first. I would say, for me, no doubt about it, is servanthood, service.
Servanthood.
And the reason I picked that because you get so much gratification. A lot of people think about service and servanthood that you'll be lessening yourself or you don't spend much time with yourself. But it's obviously thinking about others more or highly, holding others in high esteem more than you hold yourself. And service can be your time. Service can be your energy. Service can be a smile that lifts somebody's day up. Service can be monetary a little bit to where you doing something for the community. Service can be giving out you turkeys at Thanksgiving. Service can be giving out a toy drive at Christmas. Service can be also talking to Boys and Girls Club, helping somebody out get closer to God. At any point in time when you think of yourself less than others and you think about yourself in a valuable situation to give back, I've been so blessed with a career that I think that I want the good Lord to use me a little bit more. And what we're doing now, I consider service. Whatever tips or anything we can do that will lift somebody's day up, giving them a little nugget for advice, a little word of encouragement is service to me. So I want to make sure I spend 2025 giving service, giving back, and also with doing that, I make myself a better person.
Absolutely. Well, we certainly can't complain about that. Now, if for those that are, let's say, start going to a combine, not in college as of yet. Well, let's say whether you in college and going to the NFL combine or a rising senior and going to the Army versus Navy combine, what would be a habit for success or a GM that you could provide for them?
Yeah, boy, sometimes this changes up a little bit. I would say put the phone in your back pocket, number one. I would always start that off with put your phone in the back pocket. And you can listen to that when you get back to the hotel, your idle time, but you're going to miss something being on your phone. You're absolutely going to miss something. And as opposed to that, have a little jot down. If you use your phone, this is my real habit to success. If you're going to use your phone, use it for the right way. Go into your notes section, jot down notes. Have a little notepad if you don't have it in your back pocket, in your sock, in your hoodie, in your little, bag on the back, your strap-on bag. Have a little pocket handbook or notebook that you can write down notes. When I'm talking about just like that, Vaughn, when I'm talking about notes, whatever gym that a coach might have said, whatever thing you need to work on, when he said you need to set your shoulder right, making sure your elbows up to your ears, quarterbacks, make sure in those seminars, recruiting seminars, the do's and the don'ts, NIL, the do's and the don'ts. Anytime you get feedback from what their experiences are with former quarterback, other quarterbacks that's there, what they love doing in their nutrition, what they like doing, getting their arm strength back, what they like doing as far as getting their arm stronger, pocket awareness. Talk football amongst football guys. Don't lose the opportunity to, get your skill set better as far as copycatting. Or if a quarterback says, I like to run this route, I like to throw this route, I throw it on my back foot, I don't plant and throw. All those little things, all those nuances, when you get to a combine, when you get around to a camp with other players, pick their brains. And not everything you're going to be able to use, not everything you want to use. There are some things when you're picking guys' brain and you're talking to them, there's like you jot it down because you're saying, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to try to do what he did because I don't feel that that's going to be successful for me. Some guys are going to be bragging about they're not working out. Some guys are going to be bragging about what kind of teammates they are, and it's not going to be, music to your ear. It's going to be something you was like, I'm going to stay away from. So make sure you're listening, make sure you're taking mental and physical notes, and that'll make you a better player without even going back to your team and doing anything physically. Just mentally will help you be a better player and person.
So being aware, attentive, and just
Yes.
take those mental notes as well as jot down physical notes if possible. Anything that you can take back home and look over, and like it's almost like film without having the film.
Yeah, and another thing, it's going to be hard or harder to do with, a lot of moving places in a combine like this. Shake hands, be sociable, and not just with the athletes, with anybody around there. Before you leave, the guy that's going to take you through quarterback drills, make sure you get his number. Tell him who you are. Introduce yourself. Tell him where you play. Remember his name. The wide receiver coach. If you happen to run up into any scouts out there or a college recruiter, introduce yourself. You never know where that might lead because it's a gossip type of world. It's a coaching fraternity. Some of these coaches went to high school together. Some of these coaches met at the coaches convention. The word of mouth spread. They might not have room for you on their football team. They might be filled up, but they might have a buddy somewhere on another staff that can use a quarterback, and they call them up and say, hey, man, I met a guy that has the skill set, stand-up young man, yes, ma'am, no, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, treats his teammates the right way, and oh, by the way, he's a baller. Those are the type of things that can spread. So if you closed mouths don't get fed. It's not a bragging deal. You just want to go out there and, like you said, it's an interview. Introduce yourself to the interviewee.
Absolutely. And now, leading to that point, we want to go ahead and discuss the college football playoff and where we currently stand. As you can see, the lowest seed at this point is who? Is it Texas?
I think it might be Ohio State, right?
No. So Ohio State was 8. So Texas was 5 to start.
Right.
Texas was 5, Notre Dame was 7, and Penn State was 6. So
right.
So we got 5, 6, 7, and 8 all there. And just as a reminder from last episode where you stated you had in the championship Ohio State versus Notre Dame, and is looking that way. Do you still feel confident about that? Of course, I'm riding with Ohio State all the way. I feel like the championship game is going to be this upcoming weekend versus Texas. I like our chances.
Yeah, I really feel comfortable about my pick as far as Ohio State making it to the national championship game. It's just Jeremiah Smith, the all freshman wide receiver. He's unstoppable. I had, Ohio State ever since they lost the game to Michigan. I picked them to go ahead and win the national championship because that's a, team with their backs against the wall. When you're back against the wall, you come out fighting, and I've seen that point to prove. The coach really is going to coach his butt off because whether he's on the hot seat or not, he has a lot of pride. And if he can lead, if Ryan Day can lead from the front, Ryan Day cannot be, tight and call a tight game and coach a tight game and be the head coach and make tight decisions. If you're going to go for it on fourth, go with conviction. If you're going to have something in your playbook or in your back pocket, a big play, a trick 'em play, or a gadget, make sure you call it. Don't be tentative. Don't leave anything, any bullets in the gun, for tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. And I like them because I think Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns, they're backpedaling a little bit. Struggling a little bit to run the ball, struggling a little bit defensively with some injuries. So I just think that Ohio State is rolling right now. I think they're the most talented team of the 4 final teams now. Wide receivers, running backs, O-line, D-line, they are a complete football team. Matter of fact, all 4 of these football teams that's left, they are complete football teams, and I have a lot of respect for both of those or 4 of those teams. But from that bracket, Texas, Ohio State. I'm going Ohio State. Now, I know my pick was Notre Dame to come out of the other side, and I got to stick with it. But Penn State is ready to play. Penn State is ready to play. You're talking about a team with a 2,000-yard rushers, uh, stout defense, love to run the ball, and Drew Aller, their quarterback, I think he's the best quarterback out of the four teams left to play going forward. And that tight end, Ty Warren, is one of the best, or is the best tight end in the nation. He does a lot of things that utilize them, trick plays. He's thrown a touchdown, ran a touchdown. Obviously, he's received some touchdowns as well. So I think that in my pick, I have to stick with it. Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Ohio State being the national champions. But Penn State, it would not surprise me because that's an overall team. And I must tell you, Vaughn, that I'm so ecstatic for the two African American coaches, or you want to say black coaches, James Franklin from Penn State and Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame. It'll be the first time. This will be the first time this year that a black coach, an African American coach, will be coaching for the national championship game. Now that's guaranteed. Now no African American coaches have even been in the last game of the season to have a chance to compete. But now you're guaranteed to have one, and two will be playing in the semifinal. And why do I say that's significant? Because of the progress, because of the opportunities. Anybody looking and seeing those guys on the sideline tomorrow night and seeing two African American coaches competing for a national championship, you can look and say, yeah, they can do it. Yeah, they need time. Yeah, they need opportunity. And now that's going to show a little bit more motivation for anybody else on any staff to be, excited that also could be them.
Absolutely. And I must ask this: do you feel like the gauntlet that Texas had to go through, which is the SEC, is like wearing them down? Like you said, they if anybody is the one team that almost looked like they backdoored their way to this place, because Arizona State could have easily upset them in overtime. It could have went either way, but
yeah,
they made a way to make it happen. And still to this day, the only team to beat Texas is UGA. However, they rolling up against a Buckeyes team that's rolling on all cylinders. I think we got the best defense in the nation, and we surely is proving it. Even the loss versus Michigan, we barely gave up anything. And going into the playoffs, we slapped Tennessee, killed Oregon. Now Texas is just the next victim. I do think Texas is going to come out with a lot of steam. I like Texas wide receivers. They got some playmakers out there, and they are playing in Dallas. So
yes,
that might make a somewhat difference. But Buckeye Nation, we coming. We don't matter where we got to go. We coming.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, I want a good game. I think this one of the two games, this is the game that could get out of hand a little bit, just for the explosiveness that Ohio State has. I mean, they can get you from the backfield. They can get you from the slot wide receiver Tate. They can get you from the outside Ibuka, the other side Jeremiah Smith. Will Howard is accurate, and when he's starting early, and when he's spreading the ball around, he's dangerous. And that defense led by Caleb Downs and the up front guys, they are a terror to deal with. I have to tell you, I don't have any remorse, any sympathy at all for Tennessee in their schedule. And I know it is a gauntlet playing in the SEC, but their schedule wasn't.
Texas.
I mean, I'm sorry, Texas. It was a gauntlet playing in the SEC, and but I mean, they didn't play all the top-notch teams in the SEC. I know the two losses were from Georgia, but you're looking at a conference in the Big Ten that they have two teams in the Final Four. So are they complaining about the gauntlet? Are they complaining about the Big Ten? Indiana was in the Big Ten. Also, Oregon was in the Big Ten. So the Big Ten looking at it, we had gauntlets as well. We had good teams we had to get through in a competitive schedule. So no, I mean, all the games that is on your schedule paved the way for you to be where you're at now, and hopefully you are game ready. Hopefully you are big game tried, and that the game would not overwhelm you at all. And I do agree with you that it's going to be a home type atmosphere for the Texas Longhorns. So Ohio State better be working out, in my opinion, that silent count and that silent clap, because it's going to be 60-40 in my opinion, just because of location, just because of geography and accessibility that Texas has, more so than the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Well, the Notre Dame Penn State game, Notre Dame defense has really been impressive. However,
Yeah.
like I said, I know you chose Notre Dame, and I would love to see them gold helmets in the championship. But I'm afraid if Notre Dame get in the championship, we just gonna blow the doors off of them. It won't even be close. So I would rather see Penn State, because we already played Penn State this year, and it was a good battle. So I'd rather see us play against Penn State. I'm just hoping that both games are close. The key for Ohio State is start early. Put the
Yeah.
points on the board. If we put points on the board, there's nobody that's going to stick around with us because our defense not giving up points. Our defense is not giving up many points, at least.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and that's why I made sure I said that Ryan Day. Is Ryan Day? Is he going to allow Chip Kelly to come out and just light the world on fire? Don't be uptight with the play calling. Don't try to feel the game out. Go take the game to Texas. Make sure you have your first 12, first 15 plays scripted, that you're being aggressive. And if you start fast with, like you said, with that defense and playing from ahead, that's a tough team to bring down, because I tell you, that's the highest paid roster in the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's the most talent that's going on. And those guys are very, very hungry. Those guys want to put that Michigan, those guys want to put all that behind them. And what way to put it behind them to hold up the national championship trophy. And again, on the flip side with Notre Dame, I just want to say that the reason why I'm not as comfortable with them now, Riley Leonard and the outside weapons didn't show up, didn't have a lot to do with the win against Georgia. That was more about Georgia turning the ball over 2 times and then having a kickoff return for a touchdown. But Riley Leonard is going to have to find a vertical passing game to complement the running game, I think, to move past the Penn State Nittany Lions.
But we have to say that, of course, Georgia defense is way much tougher than Boise State. So I'm sure if Penn State would have had to play Georgia as well, they would have had to find out, that
That's
SEC,
a good point.
Yeah, so we shall see this weekend for sure. But now going from college football playoffs, the one last thing I want to say, I do feel like I know the first weekend we was like, oh, everything was blowouts, it wasn't even worth watching. But the second weekend was certainly good, especially the Arizona-Texas game, Notre Dame and Georgia. But I do feel like with this college football playoff format, whoever wins it is going to be the best team. Like, it's been years where it's been 3 or 4 teams or 4 or 5 teams and like, oh, they should have been in it. I feel like the best team this year is going to win the championship. So Ohio State should bring it home.
Well, I mean, you said a lot right there, Vaughn, and I like it, and you're spot on. There are no happenstance to win this one. There's no slip up to win this one. There's no bad matchup where you had an easy way through, what side of the bracket. No, you had to play football. But I would bring this up to you. Going forward, I'm just asking, because it's some pros and cons of being one of those top 4 teams that get a bye, because out of those 4 teams that had a bye, none of them won. None of those teams won. Boise State lost their first game after a bye. Arizona State lost. Georgia lost after a bye, and so did Oregon. And what was the common theme of those guys losing? They started slow. They started slow with not having game day or game speed, which the other team played the week prior. And that little rust, that little off time can come back to hurt you a little bit. So it comes down to, would you like days off to get healthy and heal up, or you want to stay in the groove that you built leading up to the college football playoffs?
Yeah, that's a great point. But also, I would say the better teams won. Other than Georgia, but Georgia had their starting quarterback out. But I mean, I don't care if you switch the seeds around. I think you're getting the same outcome regardless. If Texas had to bye, Arizona State probably wasn't going to beat them. And I knew I could have bet the house that Oregon didn't stand a chance. After they already stole one from us early. So it was just a revenge tour.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw them not standing a chance. I definitely picked Ohio State to win, especially after what they did to Tennessee. No doubt about it. But you're right. I mean, but again, the team coming off of the bye, and that's why, again, we talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago that that's my only gripe with the college football playoff that, once everybody makes the 12 teams or identify the 12 teams, then go ahead and reseed those 12 teams as far as 1 through 12 from the worst to the best, because I don't think Arizona State and Boise State was one of the top 4 teams.
Understood. Well, going into leaving college football to go to the pros now, as we take a look at our NFL playoff bracket, is there any, and it's set in stone, these are the first games up. We got Minnesota versus the LA Chargers. We got
LA
Washington or LA Rams. Oh, the Rams made the playoffs. We got Washington against Tampa Bay, Green Bay and Philly, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. It seems like it's always an AFC North battle. And then you got Denver and Buffalo, as well as the LA Chargers versus Houston. Which games stand out to you, as well as who do you like to advance in this first round? With Detroit Lions and Kansas City, of course, having a bye.
Yeah, the 2 games that's intriguing me right now, I'm looking forward to it, is the Minnesota Vikings and the LA Rams. The LA Rams, they are my sleeper team right now as far as, playing really, really good ball. Matthew Stafford is playing lights out. Cooper Kupp and Nakua has been balling. Kyron Williams, running back, has been balling. And the defense with Jared Verse, the rookie coming off the edge, the D-line for the Los Angeles Rams, you didn't really know that they was going to not miss Aaron Donald the way they have not missed him. They fought, they claw, they fight, and they claw each and every day out. And Sean McVay is a really, really good coach. And that's going against the Minnesota Vikings team that they went from winning the division and having a first round bye to having to go on the road at 14-3. That is a tough matchup for Minnesota to go over there. And I'm also looking at the AFC, Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Reason why Lamar Jackson, there's no doubt about it. And when you playing another foe, a conference foe in your conference, in your division, this is going to be the 3rd time they split 1-1. But this is the familiarity of knowing each other. Anything can happen. That's kind of been, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens kryptonite, the Pittsburgh Steelers over his career. So I'm really, really intrigued about that. I do definitely have Baltimore going on and moving on from that game. But who knows? Anything can happen, and that's why I love the setup, and I love Wild Card Weekend. I love the fact that they extended the playoffs to 7 teams on each conference.
Now, just for clarity, with the NFL playoffs, do they still have it to where the lowest seed that advances plays number 1, or is it how they have the bracket? So if Minnesota and the Rams play, let's say Minnesota wins, and let's say Green Bay somehow beats Philadelphia, will Green Bay have to pay the Detroit Lions, or is it set up the same way this bracket is set up?
Yeah, no, Green Bay, the Detroit Lions will play the highest seed or the lowest seed.
Got it.
Yes, they'll play the lowest seed, and same thing will go with Kansas City. If Denver beats the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City will play Denver. So if Pittsburgh beats Baltimore, Kansas City will play Pittsburgh.
Got it. So we don't have to necessarily get into your Super Bowl pick just yet, but who do you like in the AFC and NFC championship game thus far?
Yeah, well, I cannot be, one of those guys that don't believe. It's time that you have to believe and stop, looking around and wishing and hoping for things to happen until somebody knocks Patrick Mahomes off at home. I have to go with Patrick Mahomes from the AFC. Now, I know it's going to be a gauntlet. He might have to face Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. He's going to have to face definitely C.J. Stroud or Justin Herbert, which are really, really good quarterbacks in their own rights. So that's going to be a tough gauntlet, but it's Kansas City Chiefs. And I have my sneaky eye on the Philadelphia Eagles. Man, that's the overall team. Nick Sirianni, what he's doing offensively, defensively, overall team as well. Jalen Hurts looks fresh. They said he practiced today off of that concussion for the first time, and he looks sharp. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the wideouts. Man, it's just a hard physical battle going up against those Philadelphia Eagles. So right now, that is my two picks to come out and play in the Super Bowl. I will have the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles.
And for our audience, we want you to go ahead and comment which teams you think will advance to the Super Bowl. I can't pick as of right now, but I definitely would say AFC Championship game. I like Baltimore versus Kansas City. And NFC Championship game, I like Detroit against Philly. And I don't know just yet because, I mean, like you said, you can't really go wrong with Philly. Philly got so many weapons. Saquon Barkley had a monster year. However, it's something about Detroit and the way that Detroit has been playing, and you got to go through Detroit.
Yes.
You got to go through Detroit. I think they on a revenge tour. And I do think that Baltimore is on a mission to at the very least, beat their foes. This might be the year. I think this might be the year. This is the year, Baltimore. I told you on Christmas, this is the year that Baltimore go ahead and get Kansas City, and I'm going to stand by it. So I like Baltimore in the Super Bowl, or going to the Super Bowl. I don't know. I'm undecided with Detroit against Philly as of yet. I'm undecided.
That's all good, brother.
But let's see. Now we want to go to our final segment, In Between the Lines. And for those first-time listeners that never seen how we play this game, it's pretty much a storyline such as this one. Cam Ward sitting out the second half of the bowl game after breaking a record. However, final drive, game on the line, he's not there for his teammates. Was that in between the lines, or is that out of bounds?
Tough one for me, brother. But that's in between the lines. It is in between the lines when you're talking about. It was all about him. It was all about his health. It was all about his accolades. It was all about what he can do leaving Miami. One more game, one more risk for injury. And I have to believe that he communicated with his head coach, Mario Cristobal. I have to believe that he communicated with his teammates, some of his close friends, and they weren't caught blindsided. If they were not caught blindsided in that he told them that I'm going to be doing this, or that was his plan, I have absolutely no problem with him giving everything he had for a first half, breaking the record, and leaving, because that's just the time we live in now. He's looking out for his bag. He's looking out for his money, and that's why I have to say in between the lines.
In between the lines. And they did end up losing that game. Talking about just a terrible loss. Colorado was straight up embarrassed. Prime and his guys, it seemed like, and the question is, was Colorado, was all the off the field things, and when I say off the field, not just Travis Hunter and his girlfriend talk, but just all of the awards and everything off the field, they just simply was not prepared. Is it in between the lines or out of bounds to say Colorado just straight up got out-coached and outclassed? Because I was one of the ones that was saying Colorado should have been in the playoffs. If they beat Kansas, they get in the playoffs. How you get blew out against BYU? BYU just come straight, just run through you. around you, killed you on special teams, just didn't show up to play.
You're absolutely in between the lines, Vaughn. You're in between the lines. Um, uh, Outclass is a stretch, but I have to go with you. Outclass meaning that some things, some wrinkles, some nuances that BYU studied, they put into practice. They kind of figured out their tendencies. They were well coached, better coached than the Colorado Buffaloes, no doubt about it. And yes, there is something to the awards ceremony road trip, the awards ceremony traveling. Travis Hunter was going, to a few different, Home Depot, award in Disney World. I think Shador Sanders was there as well. The interviews, the requests, the people, wanting you to sign things, the appearances, all those type things. If you're not able to find focus back on a game plan, back on the nuances of playing football and diagnosing defenses, and as a defensive player making sure you're recognizing routes and concepts. If you're not in tune to those things, a team like BYU that I think was more hungry, a team like BYU said that everybody was talking about Colorado and said they were second fiddle. They had a chip on their shoulder. And remember, those guys over there at Brigham Young University, those are grown men. Those guys that come and they do missionary, years, 3 years removed, and then they come back to school with wives and kids and a whole family. They hit hard and they are very disciplined, and they took the fight to Colorado. I don't think it's any other way to look at it. That yes, the Buffaloes got out coached, and yes, those players somewhat got the, out physical. The physicality got the best of them. They got beat in special teams, defense, offense. They got beat in all phases of the football game. Yes, sir.
Colorado looked like a JV team out there. It was horrible to watch. But being a Heisman finalist, how difficult is it to stay focused and prepare on the next bowl game when they taking you to New York and taking you to all these places and doing all these interviews and having to sign all these autographs? How difficult was it for you to jump back in and pay attention to the, focus on the bowl game and understand we still got one more game left to play?
Yeah, it's very difficult, and you're going to have to be very mature. You're going to have to be very mature, and you have to delegate some people to take care of some different responsibilities. And the number one word you're going to have to, you had to, the advice you give to other people coming up and going through these type things, is you're going to have to really be able to say no. No, I can't be there at 3:00. No, I can't sign or have a signing or an appearance that even though you might pay me a couple of $100, I can't be there because I hadn't been with my teammate for 2 practices. I need time to get in the playbook. I need time to throw to the wide receivers and build that chemistry or keep that chemistry going. So there's a lifetime dreams to go to New York for the Heisman, lifetime dream to win the Davy O'Brien Award or the Blitnikoff Award or the Maxwell Award, all postseason awards. But when you have a bowl game to prepare for, and you have weights to lift, all those type things that to play at an optimal level, you have to stay on top of it, and it is just not that amount of time in the day to get it all done with maximum effort. So something is going to have to take the back seat. Something is going to have to be lessened, and you're not focusing or spending all your time on. And that's got to be the way you say no to everything off the field that you're going to be invited to, because you earned it and you deserve to be able to be some of those things. But are you going to put the team first and winning first, or some individual accolades? And it's a fine balance, and not everybody can handle it.
Well, besides Cam Ward, all of the Heisman finalists pretty much in the bowl game, not to say that they didn't show up, but they didn't perform as expected. Even whether we talking about Ashton Genty, if we talking about Oregon quarterback, none of them performed anywhere near Heisman expectations. Even Travis Hunter, by the time he showed up, it was already over.
Yeah, I think it's something to say about that. And I also think, besides Ashton Genty, we have to take a long, hard, deep look at these bowl games and the relevancy of them. I mean, are those kids are tapping out? Are those kids going and putting it all in? I did. We did back in the day because it was another game for some seniors or for some guys going out. That's the last time you get to strap it up with your boys. So you took pride in that and you wanted to leave college with a great taste in your mouth, saying that you won your last game. I just don't think that competitive spirit. I just don't think that fight and respect for the game is there where it should be now. So whether it's them preparing well, whether it's them focusing on social media and making sure their brand is intact, but they did not. You're absolutely right. Those Heisman finalists did not have their best moment in their last games.
Going into, as we knew, going into the final week, Saquon Barkley was less than 100, 110, 115.
Yes, he needed 101 total yards to break the record.
To break the record, and
I mean rushing yards.
To break Eric Dickerson's rushing record that's been in place since 1972.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not 72.
19,
no,
is it 19?
It's got to be. Eric Dickerson was still in college in '83. I think 84 was the record. 84.
Okay, that makes sense. But however, they selected, and I'm talking about the Eagles organization, selected to sit Saquon the final game when he could have broke it historically against the Giants, which I'm sure he would have. Is that in between the lines, or is that out of bounds to sit him as well as the offensive lineman having a shot at history? And like you said, it's been well over 30 years, 40 years almost of this record. What do you think?
Oh boy, that's one of the toughest in between the lines or out of bounds that I've been involved with. Vaughn, that's in between the lines, Vaughn. It's in between the lines, and man, I had to say that I'm really straddling that line right now, almost out of bounds. But it's in between the lines, and it's in between the lines for the simple fact that it's always going to be a team goal over individual goal. It's always going to be team first over stats. It's always going to be that. And when you look at Philadelphia Eagles, the offensive line were kind of banged up, needed the rest. And there's no way you're going to have your offensive line resting in the running back playing behind the second string offensive line. So the fact that you were going to start if you decided to start Saquon Barkley to get the record, that means all starters are going to play. And all starters were not available to play at the optimal level you wanted them to play because they needed to heal up for the ultimate prize, which is the Lombardi Trophy. So it's in between the lines now. I do think that Saquon Barkley is going to look back at and say he had the opportunity to do something historic, and his offensive line really probably wanted that for him as well. But it's too much risk in it. There's way too many factors that go into a running back getting 101 yards than opposed to a wide receiver needing one catch or a quarterback needing one touchdown pass. Every wear and tear, every hit, every block, every tackle for a running back, puts that that lifespan in jeopardy every time you go out there. So I think it was the right decision, but I do feel for Saquon a little bit. And I'm also happy that, the extra game, how do you look at it with that record? I know he's going to break it, but is he really breaking it with that extra game as far as what Eric Dickerson was talking about? You have one more extra game. So I'm kind of glad it fell the way it fell and him not getting the record in 17 games.
Yeah, that's a great point, and you almost changed my perspective. But I'm always gonna go for it. If you come this close, because it's no guarantee y'all gonna win the Super Bowl regardless. You still gotta go through Detroit. And
that's right.
If you don't beat Detroit, or if you don't beat Green Bay, you'll feel like a fool and wish that you went for it and at least broke the record, because you gonna ran this hard throughout the year, already 2,000 yards. So I would have liked to see Saquon be rewarded, as well as I know it's some other incentives that's in place, and he would have got a major payday just for breaking the record. So hopefully Philadelphia will pay him some type of not necessarily extension, but just pay him some type of incentives as if he would have broke the record. the same way we seen with Mike Evans, they made sure they did everything they could to win and allow him to break the record or tie, to go ahead and tie Jerry Rice's record of consecutive 1,000-yard reception seasons, which is 11 now, I believe.
Yeah, that was fun to see. That was fun to see, man. To see his teammates, Mike Evans' teammates, how joyous they were, how excited they were about him getting that, that 11th straight 1,000-yard season, and just the organization and not be selfish. That's $3 million, and you wanted to give it to him because that's setting the precedent of how you guys do things. That's totally what I love. And to your point, I understand your point wholeheartedly about Saquon Barkley, because again, you're not going to have another season next year just like that. So, I mean, it's almost, I mean, you can get 1,800 yards, you can get 1,700 yards, which are spectacular seasons. You probably can, repeat that next year, but for you to repeat 2,000 yards, I don't think there has ever been a back-to-back 2,000-yard season. So you only get there kind of once in a lifetime, or have that time to break that record. It doesn't come that often. So I agree with you. Probably you might concede the moment, but I'm just telling you, so many different players that's involved, and you getting that record. And man, you hate to be the person, knock on wood, that fall, or somebody fall on your knee or have an ankle twisted, that you don't be healthy for your first round of the playoff game.
Rightfully so, but this is the unicorn. Lastly, when it comes to New Year's resolutions, and you alluded to this earlier in the show, is New Year's resolution, or people wait to the new year to start things, or to say I'm gonna get better at that? Is that in between the lines, or is that out of bounds?
I think it's out of bounds, and I'm being a hypocrite now, but I'm being a hypocrite that changed. I used to think that you try to keep things or hold things, bad habits, hold on to things that you knew you needed to change, hold on to things that you wanted to put on the back burner, and have an excuse that I'm gonna wait till the new year to change those things around. I'm gonna wait till the new year to have a fresh start. I'm gonna wait till the new year to start reading more. I'm gonna wait till the new year to be more of a better person, just to continue to do the things that you were wanting to do in the previous year. Why don't make that change whenever you need to make that change? Now, I'm not against making New Year's resolution. If you want to lose weight, if you want to do all those type things, why have a time frame on it? Yes, the new year marks new beginnings, fresh start. I get it. But you could also set a New Year's resolution in December and continue it when the new year hit, and say that this was my New Year resolution. I just started it a little bit early. So I just don't, kind of agree with the fact that, I've been guilty as well of holding on to what I knew I needed to stop, what I knew I needed to, take initiative on until the new year, and then that's time wasted. If you recognize something you need to change, recognize something you need to do better, or a goal you have in mind, start that goal and then reward yourself by continuing it when the new year hit, in my opinion.
Absolutely, I agree. I say New Year's resolutions is out of bounds. One reason is most people don't even stick to it, like they don't even see it through. And secondly, I'm not sure who quoted this or who said the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is today. It's no need to prolong or wait until the new year. Get it done today. We can't talk about what we should have did in the past, but we can talk about what we doing now. And again, that's alluding back to my word for 2025 is action. So we got to take the necessary action to get where we trying to be, so we can bridge the gap from where we are now to where we going.
Well said, brother.
Now, lastly, I think that was our final segment in regards to In Between the Lines. Is there any closing remarks? I don't want to hold you any longer than we already going. I know y'all got to get ready to get up early in the morning for the trip to San Antonio. But any closing remarks that you want to provide for us?
Yeah, I just want to say that we are all in this together as a human race, Vaughn. We get caught up in sports. You and I love sports. We love different things. We love finances. We love taking care of our family. We love taking care of our wives, our kid, your kid. We love all those things, but make sure we take time to make sure we stay prayed up. Make sure we take time to call the loved ones, tell them that you love them, ask them how they're doing, if they need anything, close friends, anybody, because what happened in New Orleans right before the New Year hit, or New Year morning, is just tragic. It's just so tragic. You never know when, some psychopath or something is going to happen. Tragedy in this world is going to take the place or take a loved one away from us. And you just want to be more in tune. Make sure you're staying up, being watchful, looking out for everything. You can't stop everything from happening because there are bad people in this world. But it's just so tragic that, you had the impact of losing lives. Maybe you had CEOs there. Maybe you had doctors. Maybe you had, moms and dads and daughters and sons. Everybody was impacted. More people. It wasn't just the people that died. They're gone on to heaven, and hopefully so. But the people that's still here that got impacted, that's going to feel the ramifications. So show gratitude, show a little empathy and sympathy for those guys, and making sure that's a somewhat of a lesson to us to make sure we grab hold and hold tight to our loved ones and make sure we talk to them on a daily basis.
And that is certainly, I'm glad that you mentioned that because we did not speak about that in the show. But I also want to send a prayer out to those that's in the California area that's experiencing the wildfires. That's another thing. You got plenty of people that's losing their homes and,
Right.
Just being displaced. So from New Orleans, the tragedy that happened in New Orleans, to the wildfires that's happening out in California, we in between the lines are sending our prayers, and I think that's a great way to close yet another great episode. Again, I'm Sevon Williams, that's Joe Hamilton, and this is In Between the Lines. It's been a blessing to just provide you with all of our highlights in the sports, from college to high school all the way to the pros. Till next time, Joe.
Well done, brother.